up. Yo, can we just talk about this for a second? It's absolutely insane how, after more than 158 chapters, One Piece can still do this to us. It can still surprise us, and I mean like really surprise us. This whole story is just this massive web of mysteries, infinite characters, and we're heading into the final saga, right? And then Oda he reaches back like 700 chapters ago, pulls something out, and introduces a plot twist that just makes your brain go, how? How did I not think of that before? This story is alive, man. It's got these little threads that nobody, and I mean nobody, was thinking about anymore, and then bam, he brings it back and it's incredible. The biggest theorists, the numerology guys in the fandom, everyone is just stunned. Stunned by what Oda just dropped on us in a single cover story page. This, right here, this is why we follow One Piece. Start with Yamato's cover story, and it drops one of the biggest bombshells. I mean, I covered this in my last video about Moria, but I do quick recap about this. So we have the Mama Yamato, Momonosuke, and Kinemon. Wait, no, it was Ocho and Kikunojo. They come out of this tomb and they're all cleaned up. I mean, they looking better. And on the tombstone, we can read something. It says Kozuki Moria. Yes, Moria, as in Gekko Moria. But man, it makes so much sense. I literally made a video yesterday breaking down the Reddit post about Moria's entire timeline, and Oda did such a good job of like tying everything up without leaving any loose ends, but at the same time, he left these tiny little breadcrumbs for this exact moment to just throw it in our faces. But of course, you can't hide everything from the fandom, right? You got guys like Ohara, the dude who basically has Oda's script under his arm, and the Reddit dude who already called this. He suspected it could happen, and it was one of the biggest, most insane predictions I've ever seen. And since we started doing theories here on the channel, this was one of the craziest correct calls I've ever seen anyone make. And get this, Gekko and Kozuki. It's the same kanji, just inverted. You flip the Kozuki kanji and you get the whole thing for Gekko. It was in our faces the whole time. Seriously, go watch my Moria video. You'll get his whole connection with Kuma and Doflamingo, and while the Doflamingo part is for another video, and all this stuff is gonna be so important for the end of One Piece. Okay, now we really start the chapter. The narrator says the Roger pirates are on the Oro Jackson, you know, it's Roger's ship, and it's on some sea. Some of the crew run up and tell Roger that Shaki opened a bar on Pirate Island. They're like trying to cheer him up, you know, but he is in a terrible mood. He's huffing, he's angry, just sulking over there. Something really got to him. So Gavin slides up to Rayleigh, all smiles, and is like, yo, what happened? He says Roger got like this right after they had a talk in the captain's quarters. Rayleigh has this grumpy, embarrassed look on his face, and we see Gavin here using his advanced observation haki just to gossip. Bro used future sight for the tea, and he knew something was up and was like, I'm gonna use my haki to get the details. He keeps insisting, come on, tell us. But Ray is just like, it's nothing. But Oda's not gonna hide it from us, come on. We get the flashback. Ray tells Roger he was gonna hide this from everyone, but he had to tell his captain. He says that in that last battle, before Shaki retired, before the Kuja Pirates fight, he received something. Roger's like, yeah, I knew it. She seemed like she was suffering, like something was on her mind. And after he saw the news that she gave up her title as captain, he got worried about Rayleigh and he's like, did you get something from her in that fight? Ray apologizes, says he couldn't say anything, and Roger just whips out a love letter. He's like, what is this? Is it more than a love letter? Is there a secret code in here? And we see Shaki's message, and she's basically asking Ray to come get her. Roger then asks him, do you really have no interest in her? And Rayleigh's like, no way. But he says it in a way that, like, if he said yes, it would sound like a lie, and he'd get called a traitor. To which Roger replies that he would accept being called a traitor if it meant he could be with Shaki. Damn, Rayleigh's loyalty is off the charts, man. And dude, this whole thing, if you've ever had friends, been a teenager, you get this. I don't know if it works the same for girls, right? But with my guy friends, we totally had this rule. If one guy liked a girl, it was hands off. It's like what Rayleigh is doing with Roger. You had to respect the dibs, otherwise you get a bad rep in the group, you know. It's super interesting to see Oda showing that same kind of culture with Roger's crew. It's so relatable. Then Roger's mood just flips 180. He gets all happy out of nowhere and starts yelling that he won't give up. The crew is like, is he getting hyped again? And Rayleigh just has this big ol' smile on his face. Roger says, the things we want, we gotta take them by force. That's the pirate way. And the crew starts laughing like, oh, this has nothing to do with Shaki, right? Others are questioning why she had to pick Rox's island of all places. And some are like, hey, it's an equal chance for everyone. Let's go take what's ours. Roger then yells for Marks. He's hungry, and Marks is like, food's ready, eat up. We finally have the cook's name, Marks. In the last SBS, Oda told us who the torturer was, but not the cook. which, you know, led to all those jokes about Roger wanting a torturer before a cook. It's just like Luffy. My man wanted a musician before he even had a doctor. I love these parallels, man. Some people don't, but seeing this, it's like we're getting a glimpse of what an adult Luffy would be like through Roger's actions. It's so cool. Oh, and in the middle of all this chaos, before I forget, if you're enjoying this, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this around. It really helps the YouTube algorithm bless us with more One Piece goodness. And yeah, you know what to do. Okay, let's go. We jump forward 2 years. Now we're 40 years in the past. We're in Mary Geoise. We see the Gorosei talking with Garling. They're like, dude, the last tournament just ended and you're already thinking about the next one. But Garling says he was on this island, a non-member country with its own culture. He tried to get them to join the world government, but they refused. But they have a ton of resources, so it would have been a huge win for the government. And then he says he made an unbelievable discovery, something totally unexpected. And we get his introduction of the Order of the Gods Knight of the Figarland family, Saint Garling. What's interesting here is he's not the commander of the Gods Knights yet, just a member. And also that Garling wasn't the commander back in God Valley, which makes you wonder, who was it then? And then Oda does this thing where he changes the angle on the Gorosei and a speech bubble covers the 5th member. We see Saturn, we see Nostro and Mars, but we can't see Jupiter. Did someone rotate him out? And was Jupiter the commander of the Gods Knights back then and then got promoted to a Gorosei? It makes sense. And so Garling keeps going. He says he's sure that Your Majesty, probably Imu, will be satisfied with what he found. And so, he strongly recommends that the tournament in 2 years be held in God Valley. Back to Pirate Island. Shakky's bar is packed. The line is miles long. The pirates inside are all simping for Shaki. One guy's like, I came all the way from the North Blue just to see you. And Shakky's just like, that's sweet, but I don't cook for men like you. And the whiskey is gone. She's treating them horribly, and they love it. They're calling it the Bad Service Appreciation Festival. She goes over to Rox and asks, what's up? She says, like, now that he's gotten what he wants, his heart isn't turned towards her anymore. And then Big Mom comes in with her laugh, scaring everyone. She says this is feminine intuition. Shaki was basically hinting that Zebeck already has a wife or girlfriend. Rox tells Big Mom to shut up. It's a confidential matter. Whitebeard is just confused. Classic innocent Whitebeard. And Stussy is thinking to herself that Rox's happiness wasn't just about a woman. He probably had a kid too. And we know Blackbeard was born right around this time. Then, boom, the Roger pirates invade the bar. Roger leads the charge with Gavin right behind him. Shakky's like, Roger. But Rox is fuming. He's like, how many times do I have to tell you this island is mine? Roger just smiles and says, this is Shakky's bar, no fighting between customers. Dude, even Roger gives people nicknames just like Luffy. He's so much like him. Rox is furious. He's like, the line was huge. How did you get in? And Roger's just like, what line? So, and we see all the pirates from the line knocked out on the ground outside. Whitebeard is just done. He's like, you guys are too noisy, and just leaves. Shaki comes up to Roger and asks if Rayleigh came. Roger's like, nah, I called him, but he said he was sleeping on the ship. Then Gloriosa jumps into Roger's arms. She's like, is today the day you let me on your ship? And Roger is terrified. He's like, no way, you're one of those women who throws hearts around. And he's totally oblivious. Gloriosa is melting for him. And Roger is literally thinking to himself, damn, how is Rayleigh so successful with women? Bro, she is right there. Meanwhile, back on the Oro Jackson, we see Rayleigh singing Bink Sasaki, and then Shaki just faints. She got hit with the love sickness. The narrator tells us that because of Shaki's rules, no fights were allowed around the bar. So even when all these powerful pirates met, nothing popped off. But out at sea, it was a different story. We see this panel, this tease of Roger versus Zebeck, but Oda doesn't show us the fight. Not yet. Okay, now hold on. We're going to Elbaf. The ground is shaking so hard that Prince Loki is sent flying. And then, an epic double-page spread. HARALD and Zebeck are clashing. For real this time. Grep. They're already beat up, bleeding. This is not the first attack. Zebeck is desperate, yelling that HARALD was manipulated by the government. But HARALD's like, no. I get lost, but this is a dream I have to see through, even if I have to kill a friend. Zebeck dodges an attack and calls him an idiot, saying he's letting himself be used. He says the government only sees giants as military power, that they'll be treated like a crop to be harvested. And he was right. That's exactly what happened to the giants and the Marines. Zebeck is yelling, where's your warrior pride? But HARALD just sends him flying. He screams back that he understands all that, but this cycle of violence is what made them warriors in the first place. He calls Zebeck a burden on Elbaf, that the nation wants peace and Zebeck is stopping it. He remembers people telling him he's a good person, but he also remembers the king, an old man who probably remembers when the giants brought terror to their island. The fear doesn't just go away. HARALD tells Zebeck that even if the celestial dragons are idiots, they have the power to bring Elbaf into the world. Zebeck realizes it's hopeless. He hits HARALD with an insane blow and calls him a damned disgrace. The negotiations have failed. He says he will never again invite HARALD to his crew. HARALD screams back that he's the king of Elbaf, and he won't bet his people's lives on a lost war for a fool. The fight ends in a draw, and the narrator says this strange friendship ended here, and they won't meet again until the day of that incident. Damn, God Valley. HARALD is gonna be at God Valley, and this friendship lasted 16 years. 16, you know what that number means. And sometime later, Loki is reading the news about rocks, and Ida tells him there's no tea, and he calls her an old wretch, but she just ignores him and asks if he wants juice. And he's like, yeah. It's kinda sweet, she just sees the good in him, you know? And finally, my friends, we are 39 years in the past. Is it happening? Are all the pieces on the board? We see this woman walking down the street and people are enchanted. They notice she has twin children with her. Red hair. They say the kids are cute and that they got their red hair from their mother. She says yes. The townspeople are like, your husband's a scoundrel for not being here, but we'll help you raise them. One of them asks, what are their names? And she replies, Shanks and Shamrock. Shanks and his twin, and they're just babies and also innocent. Like Whitebeard said, children shouldn't pay for the sins of their parents. Even a celestial dragon like Shanks can be, well, a good person, mostly. So, now what? What happens now? This whole setup with HARALD and Zebeck with Roger? Is God Valley finally about to begin?